It's not a question of whether it's civilian. It's not a question of whether it's military. I once had a reporter called Kunle became a judge and retired. Who is this same Ife too? I don't know why it's always University of Ife. The one Lake Alabis University of Ife too. I think it was IBD University of Ife. And the students booed him and they were stoning him. And the military governor sent everywhere that the story must be killed. And Kunle Adegbe was the editor-in-chief. Said, how can I kill a story of what had happened? But a press secretary came and said we should kill it. And the man said, I cannot kill unless I talk directly to the governor. And they had to carry him to the governor and he explained. He said, people saw this thing happen. We can report it in a way that will not be too much in bad light. But to say it didn't happen, then people will stop believing NTV back. And the day you have a story of your own, because nobody is believing the station, you just be wasting your time. And the administrator say, hey, I could settle something by okay, Lord, not only that he did it, that administrator gave him vehicle to take the story to networking. So it's a question of individual character. And so when you have characters like Oloye then you will understand. Uh, he has been on this side when he was press secretary, so he protected the press people. He did it was professional, and I can say it, and I'm very proud of him, and he knows that. He was a press, he was like a director of news in the governor's office. So he was managing news. He was protecting the news purveyor. But when you put the wrong people, you run on my governor more governor is collaborating with the opposition. So it's not what I'm trying to say now is don't conclude that military will oppress. Civilian will be better. I know today's civilian, they are more harm, they are more of emperor than Kinjoluni that you work with, or Sasenya that you work with, yes, or gentleman Dayo Pupola that you work with. They are so full of themselves. They think that in fact, they are almost like the French king, Louis V. They are the state. They own the state. They put it in their pocket. So also be able to get free press, don't bother about who is governor. Bother about who you put your reporter, who you put as your editor, who you put as your chief executive. That is the critical thing, in my view.
Yes.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you so much.
I may want to add in, just to support what Dr. Horby said. It depends on two things: the character of the reporter and the character of the owner or the leader of that organization. Like Dr. Horby went to defend his term in the governor's office. Now, in the days of Joseph, I mean, even if it was a driver that did something wrong, Joseph would stand by that driver, would defend him. In 1974, Governor Bangui of Kwara, Yahweh Daogi Silara, he was in uniform, the wife poured the hot pap on his head while he was coming down from stairs. So the editors wanted to report the thing. Bangui came to the Times and was prostrating. He prostrated to the editor of Sunday Times. He prostrated to Bola, and Joseph stood his ground. So the story will be published. So this was a military governor doubling for the chief executive of a newspaper. And that was the kind of the leadership of the organization. In 76 February or thereafter or March 73, 74. 77 January. or 7 February, when they burnt down Kalakuta. Obasanjo sent, I think his name is Dio now, he sent his PA to go around the media houses saying nobody should report that incident. Of course, they came to Sketch, which was being run by Jembe, the governor. But we after assuring him that we won't publish, we published the story. And I personally took the papers to Lagos, to toll gate. And the following day, Sunday, the Kill and Go people came to my official residence at Agodi. They beat me from head to toe, threw me to the wagon, and brought me down to Sketch. While they are coming from Agodi to Sketch, it was beating and beating and beating and beating and beating. But that did not stop Sketch from publishing. Now, the point I'm making is that it also depends on the character of the reporter. In one instance, is the level of organization, Joseph, here is the reporter insisting that the story must go on, whether it is military or civilian. So what we are saying is that the two, as Dr. Ruby observed, the two work hand in hand, the character of the staff and the character of the leader of the organization. So we cannot just say military or civilian. These days, everybody knows that governors, I remember an article I said the governor is a god, something like that. The governors in Nigeria are perhaps more virulent even than the president. They are more intolerant than even the head of state. Like we said, there are governors that if you publish the picture of their wives, maybe the way she dresses or the syndicate is not good enough, the governor may ask that you be sacked or may somehow deal with you, and deal with the Commissioner for Information. The Commissioner for Information will be Dobale, will be shivering when it's summoned by the governor. It's so bad that some civilian governors that we have are by far more tyrannical than military governors. So we cannot just say the press is free under the military or the military governor or the civilian governor. It depends on the character of the people holding the office. But by and large, the civilian governors that we have since 1999 are by far more dictatorial, more power drunk than the military governors before them.
Thank you, sir. Before I go further, I would like Oloyede Caleb, go ahead, sir.
So our guys have told you now the characters of the reporter, the news editor, and all that. I also think there's another angle, the third party, who, when they tell him, that story is in bad light, and he says, no, he has done his job, I've answered his questions, let him go and use his discretion. The same University of Ife, I was then producing Pick Out. So, Major Ademoyega, the fifth of the 5 majors who did the first school in this country.
Was the guest majors.
Yes, sir. He was the guest speaker in Ife. So we covered the aspect of his speech, but now I negotiated, if you could please oblige me, 25 minutes only for Speak Out. And he said, why not? So because of the noise and the crowd, we now, Dr. Yemi Ogubi was then in Ife. He obliged that we could come and do the recording in his quarters. So we went, and it was the era of pneumatic tapes. 20 minutes, you must inject and insert another tape. So in the course of the interview, we were using the first tape, UHS. And I was asking questions which was useful to the audience, viewers, and my station. But the people in Dr. Ogubi's quarters now, they said they were radical lecturers. So then one of them just said, excuse me, you are from which station? I said, NTV Badon. I said, MPN station. No, you are no more conducting this interview. Your questions are sent to you from Lagos. And I was pleading, sir, please, let me finish my job. Wait until the something is here. If not for Major Ademoyiga that day, I will not finish that interview. Major Ademoyiga now said, no, please leave him. He's doing his professional job. When he finishes and transmits, then you can make judgment. Please let me conclude the interview with him. And that's how we escaped from Ife. Years later, when I told Dr. Gumbi that, do you remember about a television reporter that you were allowed to interview Major Ademoyiga and your reporters? He said, don't tell me you are. I said, I was. So all parties must remember that the journalist or reporter or the media house is not after your position or your life. You are doing, you are governor, you are ruling. The reporter is also earning his daily bread by doing professional job for which he was appointed. So all parties should please just stay clear. Do your duty. If you are guilty, go and beg. If you are not guilty, go to court. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before I move forward, I want to take this opportunity to introduce Yeye Amoye ti Yoruba Gbode. I didn't see her when I was introducing one of the Amoye of Yoruba Gbode, Dr. Adeniran Adeboye. But I didn't see Yeye Amoye. Yeye Professor Omofolabo Ajayi Soyinka is one of the Amoye on Yoruba Gbode, and I'm taking this opportunity to welcome her again to the program.
Mo kí yín o, ẹ ṣé púpọ̀ fún mo ti ń gbádùn gbogbo àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ wa media people tó ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ àwọn tó ti ṣe ògbólógbòó nínú iṣẹ́ yìí sẹ́yìn, gbogbo àwọn orúkọ tó ń dá yẹn ó kàn jẹ́ kí n máa rántí gbogbo ìgbà yẹn ni. So ẹ ṣé púpọ̀, inú mi dùn láti fi etí sí yín láti kọ́gbọ́n lọ́dọ̀ yín.
Thank you, ma'am. So before we go on, I wanted to mention something that is very, very important to me as our honorable guests were talking about. It depends on the media house and it depends on, the owner of the media house, the bosses. I had an experience. I don't remember vividly the year and the month, but it was the time that Chief Obafemi Awolowo lost in the last election. The organization that I work for, BCOS, they were like all the time, they were always shaking. I mean, I can say that one of my guys here, they were always on their toes. They were afraid that something was going to go wrong. And they were like, it wasn't during the time of Baba Yemi Farouk, I have to say that. It was during the time of another manager. So at that particular time, they withdrew all the other newscasters who are reading Yoruba. It was only me, Akin Soluba, and the who else? Just very few Yoruba newscasters were allowed to read Yoruba news because they were afraid that somebody was going to make a mistake. Now, they brought the news, and I translated the way it was supposed to be translated. And when I had news like that, and it is during the time of politics, I learned that I have to break my sentences and make it clear in order not to allow for ambiguity. So I read the news about Baba Awolowo that he didn't. So I translated Ṣùgbọ́n Olóyè Awolowo kò wọlé. Nice and clear. I took my time. A lot of people who knew me know that I like to translate under a pressure. But during politics, I dare not. So I read Baba kò wọlé. One of our bosses who happened to be a manager program I'm not going to mention him, but that particular boss was known for just shaking for nothing. Oh, don't do this. Oh, they are going to fire us. I read my news, and this Baba called my supervisor, Bamiji Odu, that Shola ma sọ pé wọ́n ní Awólọ́wọ̀ wọlé. And you could see all my bosses, Mama and Ike, everybody, they were like, one for it, Barry. At the end of the day, my boss, Bamiji Odo, said, I heard the news myself. Shola was very clear. She said, Ṣùgbọ́n kò wọlé. So what was difficult there? But before that time, everybody, they were just, banging heads against each other. For, because they were so scared that something was going to happen. Oh, we are going to lose our job. That thing continued to go on in those days, and even now. But now I wanted to ask Baba Tola Adeniyi this question. We know that the government, whether military or civilian, they feel personally threatened by media. So I wanted to ask that, was that the case that caused Dele Giwa's death? Was that the case?
I don't know. I think I will not be able to answer the question because, to be honest, I wouldn't say I was privy to circumstances leading to death, and then for me to make a comparison. But I do know that journalists all over the world are exposed to precarious circumstances, and they are always faced with threats to their lives. And without being modest, I received a parcel bomb in 1993 May.
Wow.
Which was sent to me from Apapa, and it was taken to Tangisha by Ugochukwu and Farouk, who we raised alarm that it was a parcel bomb. And when it got to Tangisha, the bomb disposal unit found that it was a bomb that would have been very devastating. In fact, the entire Kaka would have been blown off if that parcel had exploded. So what I'm saying in essence that the dangers are always present, but the specifics of Dele Giwa's death will be something that will be out of my scope and out of my reach, because I will not say that I was privy to the details that led to a summary execution.
Any Oloyele Kalabi, do you have a comment before I go to Baba?
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you, Shola. Dr. Farumbi has told us the history of Dele Sketch. Dele Sketch came about when Premier Samuel Ladoke Akintola government broke away from the action group, and they needed a voice. So they started Sketch from Lagos before moving it in 1964 to Obadebimpe Road, the former headquarters. And it was a great paper in Western Region. If you wanted to buy Sketch, you must buy another newspaper. It was a condition. But suddenly Sketch dropped from circulation. Why? Self-censorship. It was closed by the Babangida governments like the Guardian and the Concord and Punch. And when they reopened, the public expected Sketch to also stand shoulder to shoulder with Guardian, Punch, and Concord over June 12th. Suddenly, front page sketch, if you didn't see the picture of Abacha, you will see the picture and story of his wife, page 3, and they said they were doing proportional reporting, wives of military administrators or military administrators, from front page 2, 3, 4, 5. So adverts started dropping, patronage started dropping. The Yorubas were unhappy that their paper, which they said was the voice for the June 12th protest, had become nothing. So sketch was never in the portfolio of Western Nigeria Development Corporation, IICC, and later Odua Investment Company. It was never. So we went to Abeokuta for the rotational meeting of military administrators of Odua states. And sketch came there with their management, begging Odua to loan them some millions of naira for them to pick up after they had demolished the station and their head office. They said they wanted to build a plaza and shopping complex. It was the military administrator of Oyo State, Prince Oyaire, Commissioner of Police, at the end of the meeting, because sketch was not in the agenda, but because their team came and they were doing lobbying and all that, they now said, okay, let us talk about sketch. Oyaire said, no. Let sketch go and find his level. So the other papers are competing and selling and making, they were not really what they shut down. But they said, okay, Odua, give them free interest loan, which they will repay. Until I left Odua, sketch did not pay twice. They didn't repay the loan. But it was the Oyaire I want to bring up now. He said, please tell me, am I breathing down on your neck? He was asking management of sketch. So why don't you do professional service by selling what will attract your readers and advertisers? So when we look out, we must also look within. As you said, you said your supervisor was saying you said Baba Owolu. So can you
because they were so scared.
Advertiser wọn ni wá mọ́.
Eshew. Baba Farumbi, do you have anything to add, sir?
No, this job is a dangerous job anywhere in the world. Richard Nixon and his vice president had a running battle with the American press. They saw the American press as hostile. I just told you during the Falkland War, BBC was covering the Falkland War, and British troops were being killed. Their planes were being brought down, and BBC reported it, and Margaret Thatcher was livid. How come the BBC did this? He said, how can you be carrying stories that we are losing the war? That was, are you not losing? You are an enemy within the game. So it's always like that. If you have to do your job thoroughly, that somebody wants to prevent the public from knowing what is happening. It happens even now. It still happens. Manipulation of news. What I call the bureaucratization of news. They want to subject news to bureaucracy. So an assistant secretary will write the story, will send it to senior assistant secretary, go to principal assistant secretary, go to under secretary, go to permanent secretary, then it will come down. By the time it comes down to the assistant secretary, what he has sent up will look completely different from what he's seeing. You cannot do news like that. It's either it is factual or it is not. We all know that facts are sacred. Comments are free. You have to speak the truth. You have to report the facts. But there are people who don't want the facts reported because the facts show them, they underbelly their incompetence, their ineptitude. So they would rather find a situation in which the reporters will not speak the truth. And if they have other ways of removing him, if they can sack, they will sack. And there are those of us who will be sacked. Or they can move you aside, they can move you from your job to some other job that has no meaning. I treated all of that in one of my books that I call Controversy Within. I don't know how many places they've moved Tola Adeniji from. Moved him from Sketch, moved him from Boom, moved him from Daily Times. All because they don't have what is reporting. You want to speak the truth, they don't want you to speak the truth. You have to make up your mind whether you speak the truth or you do what they want. And when they cannot move you, sometimes they can terminate you. It does happen. I'm trying to remember this one that happened in the Abacha regime. He just disappeared. Today we have not cattle or something like that. We haven't found where he is. We don't know where he is. So it just happened. This is a job that has its own risk. You want to speak the truth. That somebody who doesn't want the truth said. Is corrupt. He doesn't know that during that boy issue, and I know that my friend Jacob will remember that very well, it became a serious matter. Taka, you are stealing. That was swore to an affidavit. There were newspapers that will not report this as part of the affidavit. But I know that there were papers that also reported it. You know, the entire Taka versus Dabo, the Gowon administration did it exactly like it. But those who reported it had increase in circulation, had increase in audience, because they were respected by the people for being factual, believable, full of integrity, and things like that. So it is always like that. It's the risk that the professional should take. But all of that has changed. There's now an umbilical relationship. In fact, almost like you say, a ministry relationship, sometimes between the journalists and government. In fact, sometimes some journalists will use statements on behalf of government. They will use statements on behalf of individuals. They have become press agents to individuals rather than agents of their own organization. So, and they become so rich. In our days, you had name, you didn't have money. But today they have money, they don't have name. These are the issues.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before we go to questions, I want us to look at what is happening now. I'm going to go to Oloyele Kalabi. Oloyele Kalabi, do you think it's getting better or it's getting worse, or the worst is yet to come when we are talking about press freedom, especially with what is going on with social media? When we had social media, we thought we were free. So what do you think is the situation now, even with the social media?
3 years ago, the lady who now heads the female department of the Institute of African Studies at University of Ibadan organized a seminar in Ibadan about the social media and the implications. The conclusion was, please, social media does not have somebody who just concoct a story and picture from wherever he or she stays and post it. So it is the receiver who should be cautious and ask, can this be true? Where is the link? What is the source? So the conclusion then was, please, don't spread fake news. Don't post, delete. Don't help the person who wants to be seen as a blogger or something. Social media. The independent radio stations. God bless. Yes, God bless the organizers, the proprietors, and the staff. The things you dare not hear on government-owned radio or TV stations are now under this comment. Olóòtú, ṣẹ̀rí tẹ̀dálẹ̀ tó dání, a fẹ́ sọ pé the other side, the third opinions. So freedom is now at the gate of the people of, even they've labeled some radio station as secretariat àwọn aráàlú. So nothing can be.
Okay. Engineer tẹ wà lọ́dọ̀ bàbá olóyè Lékan Àlàbí.
So freedom is more available thanks to the polarization, is that the word, of the radio stations and some TV. Some now have radio and TV channels. So the government knows that, like Fela was saying, so if you now say that you don't hear it on your channel, government channel, they will hear it somewhere else. But a word of caution, these radio stations must make sure that the news or opinions are not only free, but very valuable. Unlike social media. And all you hear is, sorry, I didn't know. You must know, you want to damage somebody's reputation that he or she has built for over 40 years without proof. So freedom, only qualification, it must be true and authentic. Otherwise, I'll go on local.
Thank you, sir. Alagba Akoguntola Adeniyi, in your own opinion, what do you think about the social media being the safety net, being the salvation for the people to actually get something that is close to press freedom?
Well, I mean, it's quite dicey. Every development has its own good and bad sides. The social media serves a role in the sense that, as you've just rightly observed, in the sense that if the regular media, if the traditional media will not publish, social media will publish. Then social media also has the advantage of immediacy. Before you wait for something to happen, they publish the newspaper tomorrow or day after. The social media reports as it is happening. And the fact that the owners don't report to anybody, it gives them the laxity and the fearlessness. But in terms of dignity and believability, it has eroded the confidence of the people in the media. And because somebody is able to buy a 500 naira or 1,000 naira data, you just write whatever you like, just put something out there, no syntax, no grammar, no correction, no nothing. Just the modern journalism, the modern media, and they make people to believe that anything goes. And of course, when we are saying so, it also reflects the development worldwide. The world itself has become so serious. The world has become so bad. And it happens all over the world. It's not just in Africa, it's not just in Europe, it's not just in America, it's not just in the Asiatics. The thing is that the entire world has become so serious. The entire world has become so confused that anything goes. You know, I mean, they change the social parameter. When the regular media in the US will say now that you can't say a woman, you can't say a man, but you say a child bearing agent. I mean, when you begin to hear all sorts of nonsense that the traditional media is spewing out, the social media comes to the rescue of the people. They just, they are free to say whatever they want to say, regardless of officialdom. So most ways, they all serve their needs. But by and large, I think social media will still require some regulation, some measure of control, so as not to allow them to ruin the traditional media. And that's what I would say. And I don't see it abating. I think it's going to get worse over time. It's going to get worse over time.
Thank you, sir. Baba, Professor Farobi, my question to you, sir, is this media, whether social or traditional media, do we think they are doing enough or they are doing too much in telling the society what is going on? Sometimes some people will say, oh, they are the ones spoiling things. Other times they will say, oh, they are not doing what they're supposed to do, especially the traditional media. Are they doing enough or doing less?
Thank you very much. Let me say, when you look at the social media, there might be two dimensions. There is the social media that represents the convergence of all the media today. The newspaper is online. It's online in social media. The newspaper is also running in radio. The newspaper is also on TV. So there's a convergence. The radio is also on Facebook. It's also on Instagram. It's also on YouTube. So it's no longer a radio station. It's also a TV station. The newspaper is not only a newspaper, it's also a radio station, it's also a TV station. So there's a convergence. That aspect of social media, that is a convergence of all the aspects of what we call the traditional media. And then there is, of course, the other side, which you can call the citizen journalists. Those who just wake up and write good stories. But there are those who manufacture stories, who set out to promote deliberate points of view, particularly since they are regulated, they are controlled, they are restricted, they are monitored. So they do whatever they like. It is on social media now that you can see people are being cut into pieces of meat and they show it. It's on social media that you show an accident. Instead of helping the people who are involved in an accident, people are more interested in doing live broadcast of that incident. So they are not rescuing the people. And then some relations are told who do not even know that their child are traveled or something. They'll be seeing the first news of the death of their child on a social media. Which a regular media will not do. We must hold the story to make sure that at least the relations will have heard that their children are dead. And they're not just seeing on here. There's this part of me that is very, 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 very irresponsible. I mean, Akokun talked about people who are writers, who are not journalists. Now these people are not even journalists, they are not even writers. They just have money, they put data, they create whatever they want.
These bloggers.
I'm going to talk specifically about coverage of terrorists. One of the things that we know as professionals is that when a terrorist acts, the first thing he wants is media coverage. Because he wants attention. He wants the world to know that he had hijacked a plane. He wants the world to know that he has hijacked a school. Even when a terrorist operates in America. He takes a gun to primary school. The first thing he wants is he wants live coverage of that event because he wants attention. He wants to get recognition. And when he gets those two for media coverage, then he gets legitimacy. He begins to say, I want to negotiate. Because I mean, which is what we've seen in this country. We begin to negotiate with kidnappers. So you're giving them legitimacy. And what is the result of that? Paralysis of action. It paralyzes the people. It creates fear in the people. It creates remorseless fear in the people. People would have defended themselves have not been paralyzed because of this inundation by social media, the so-called superiority of people who are not superior, the so-called capacity of people who have been defeated before. We have evidence that they have been defeated before, but the social media present them as if they've never been defeated, as if they are undefeatable, as if they are the conquerors of the unconquered. But these are people who have been conquered before. And what happens? People get paralyzed. As soon as we hear the name, they run. The regular media will do that. And this is part of the dangers we have. Of course, we have the multiplicity, and like Oloye said, we have so many radio stations, so many TV stations, all of them private. A good thing that IBB did to liberalize it, but we found that the growth rate of the station does not reflect the growth rate of professionals. The stations have grown so rapidly that those who ought to be in training are now the managers. Those who have never been trained. Will you believe somebody said on air that he's been here on radio for 10 years, he never had a script. Will you have taken that in your days? You go on air without a script? They just come on air and say, Lónìí, olóyè lẹ́kàn làbí ní ká má ṣe lẹ́kàn mọ́ o. Láì wá ní kẹ́bẹ̀ sí pè wá. And there are professional callers. Yeah. When we started all of this thing, we had a delay. When we started phoning, there is a delay of about 30 seconds that allows you to know who is calling and what's the quality of the person. But today, just listen to the radio station. We know the professional caller. They don't have to call. A scarcity of the real trade people, even for this multiplicity of radio stations. They are unable to train, and those who grant the licenses don't look at the market. You better have about 40. Can Ibadan sustain 40 stations and 510 stations? We are not buying enough of the stations are not paying. And when they are not paying, what do you expect? The people have to now fend for themselves. So it's a real danger that we have. That if we're not careful, those who are not trained, know what the Yorubas will say, these people who are not trained, but who now have the stations in their hand as private stations, and these people are not trained and have the bloggers. They have the blogs in their favor, and some of them have 1 million followers. They have more followers than because they are dealing with sensational news that most times are not too true. They are promoting specific interests. So they have a huge following. Some of their following is what all the newspapers added together in Nigeria don't have. So there is no time worldwide. When I was in Philippines, as ambassador, I know the Philippine people started thinking, what are we going to do about this social media? Are we just going to ask them to be subject to the same rules as the mass media? Rules of impartiality, rules of objectivity, rules of factuality, rules of truthfulness, so that only the professionals will be there. Is the real danger that we have.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I'm going to give the Amoye Yoruba Bode, we only have 2 of them here, to ask questions. Then I'm going to throw the thing to the whole house. Baba Adeboye, comment or question?
Oh, Ṣẹ́gbọ́n mi.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Mo kí gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ ṣáájú ẹ kú iṣẹ́, ẹ kú làákàyè. A dúpẹ́ púpọ̀. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan ni à ń kọ́ láti ọ̀dọ̀ yín nípa ìrírí tẹ́tí rí nípa ibi iṣẹ́ yín. I'm supposed to be speaking English. So I want to thank you all. Much of what comment I have will be acknowledgement of the fact of the symbiosis between politics and media. All the way back to the 1850s, the founding of media, whether it's by the CMS Church initially or by nationalists later on, was to publicize what was going on in their own venture. And to publicize what's going on, you are aiming at the audience, you are trying to project your own view with a conceptual framework. And so there is a symbiosis between your political, whether it is religious politics or any other kind of politics, your political activity and the activity or the interest of the reporter. It is laden with danger. At some point, politicians were even creating their own media. In 1925, Herbert Macaulay helped found the Nigerian Daily News. In 1937, the West African pilot was initiated by Nnamdi Azikiwe. And Ìròyìn Yorùbá in 1945, and Nigerian Tètè Húyàn. I mean, that's what we said in Gbọ̀ngàn. In 1949. So the marriage between politics and media seems to go very far, not just in Nigeria, but almost everywhere on the planet. So the question is a question of management. The danger that we have in that kind of symbiosis, especially when one of them is equipped with power that the other doesn't have, is the imprisonment of journalists, the killing of not just journalists, but even columnists. I think one might refer to who was almost simultaneously a journalist and a columnist, but certainly, what's the name of the principal of Taisholari, Thinking With You. And now this morning, I learned that a columnist, Lafia, and he's Obadiah Malafia, and he's a columnist with the Vanguard. We've mentioned Dele Giwa, we've done all kinds of things to show that the relationship between politics and media. And are the people entitled to information? Well, one can say they're entitled to correct information. But whose perspective is correct? Is it the politician who wants to sell a political position and colonize the people's mind? Those questions are not quite as easy to answer as now as they want to be. But I'm going to move away from you, Ibadan, Lagos people. I'm going to go to Gbọ̀ngàn, where we don't have a newspaper man, we don't have a newspaper. We just buy Daily Times, Toro, Abiro in Yoruba, and whatever we get there is the information. That's the information we have. We don't even know.
But you have Professor Williams, one of the best columnists in Nigeria.
Abro mi nìyẹn, mo ti kúrò lé 52 years ago. I know.
Very, very reputable.
I know,
but
ọmọ mi ni, but the point I'm making is pé ìgbà táwọn à ń kékeré wọn tí ì bí òun. So we were reading ìròyìn Yorùbá, West African Pilot, Daily Times, and then because my father was an NCNC man, the Nigerian Tribune was called Nigerian Tribune, and that kind of thing. But you see, I'm clearly trying to say it is the conceptual framework of the receiver that determines whether what is receiving is true or false. I'm not saying there is no absolute truth. I'm saying that's what we were subjected to. So this morning I had to recall the control of the press. And that dates all the way back, even to biblical times, when David was mourning the death of Saul and Jonathan, didn't he say, "Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the street of Askelon"? So that control has always been there, or attempts to control. The people, ordinary people like me, what are we entitled to? How do we know when we are getting the truth? Is the social media so good or so bad? Or am I so illiterate until I cannot sift between the truth and falsehood of what I get? So those are responsibilities that I believe we must train ourselves about, because technology is not going to stop emerging. We are just going to have to adapt to whatever we find in ourselves and grow with it and know how to use it wisely. That's my observation as a media illiterate. But as a citizen, I applaud the professionalism that you all represent, and I want to ask a question. Okay. Nigeria, which is where we still are, and I used to be a Nigerian, now I'm extremely Yoruba. But even
Thank you, sir.
Yes, but even when we look at whatever the geography, political or social, what does the press see itself doing in securing life and happiness for the people over whom it has some responsible jurisdiction?
Okay. Baba Farounbisa.
Baba ekum gara gidi. The truth is that if you are a professional, there are certain ethics you subscribe to. Mm-hmm. It's like if you were a doctor, there's an Hippocratic oath that you subscribe to. Mm-hmm. There was a code formulated by the Nigeria Press Organization, I think it was in Ilorin, that we are all supposed to subscribe to. Mm-hmm. But we are beginning to have people who, because they are not engaged in regular media, and because they don't belong to any professional body, they do whatever they like. And we are beginning to have a danger, because really, broadcasting is also oriented. They remove you from the list. If you misbehave as a lawyer, they derobe you. If you misbehave as a journalist, you just go away. Unless that person has money to take you to court. Mm-hmm. for libel or for slander or for whatever. So we are in a situation that you have people who are very, very powerful, but who themselves are not regulated, who themselves are not controlled. Yes, you say there's something called the National Broadcasting Commission. Yes, they control organization, but they don't control individuals. There's nobody who punishes an individual journalist for publishing falsehood unless you go to court. There's nobody who say, oh, you have done wrong thing as a journalist, we'll derobe you. Or you've done something as a broadcaster, you're not speaking the truth, we'll derobe you. And this is why everybody become called a journalist. Want to know how to write good English, become one. And if you are a good sorrow, you become also a broadcaster. And sometimes you begin to trace, you begin to train people. You yourself who have not been trained. So it's a dangerous situation. I mean, and you have an enormous power in the hands of people who are unregulated. You have enormous power in the hands of people who are not controlled. And unfortunately, in Nigeria, there's a problem of training. In other countries, you train the journalists, you retrain them, you retrain them. You work in NBC or ABS or CBS or in PBC, you get training. If you work in Washington Post or New York Times or in California Herald, there'll be training. But a lot of these people uh, have no training whatsoever. And the opportunities or the availabilities for training not there. The very famous Daily Times newspaper training center is for them. We have only the NIJ, we have an entry training school, we have an NBC academic, and that's about all. So there's nobody who is training, even the professionals in the recognized organization, not to talk of those who are in social blogger. It's something we have to look up and to look at. In the Nigeria that we are in, I used to say sometimes you sit down and watch the national television and you watch all the news and you start wondering whether you are part of that Nigeria. Because you look at news, succession of news, even in the selection of items, even in the treatment of items, you begin to say, am I still part of this country? Which is what I'm calling alienation. They're not helping because they are not behaving as professionals. You watch a whole day, and I sure as you do, if you do outside and watch the international service, you start wondering, are these 6 states or 7 states or 8 states a part of Nigeria? Is it that nothing is happening there? Is it that, I mean, you start beginning to think that within your own country you are in a station that belongs to all of us. And this is the peculiarity and this is the difference between the electronic media and the print media. I can buy the printing machine. I can recruit all the staff. I start a newspaper. But when it comes to electronic, I have to apply for a license. That is the atmospheric spectrum, which is not unlimited. It belongs to all of us. So even when you are given the license to operate the radio, you are supposed to do it at public interest, at public convenience, and as a public service. Because the spectrum you are using is not your property. It belongs to all of us. So when I now look at that national service and I find that the whole day, sometimes I start wondering, have I seen part of it? So this alienation arising out of partisanship, what N.A.B. Kotoye once called naked partisanship, a dissemination of half-truth, half-lies, and naked prejudices, package on television. Then you start wondering that what do I have to do I cannot rely. Whereas in those days, I hold radio with you know that is the truth. Like you said,